CMHA police say 19-year-old Arthur Keith pointed a gun at them when they shot him back in November in the King Kennedy area. But the autopsy showed Keith was shot from behind with a bullet exiting his chest. Today, Attorney General Dave Yost announced that the grand jury returned what's called a no bill in the case. That means no officers will be indicted in the shooting.
He shot this young man in his back, running away from him in broad daylight. I want to let y'all know this. This is broad daylight. Children are outside. These children witnessed this whole incident that happened. The young man that came forward was 15 years old to testify, to say what the police did. And they still came after his family. But I'm going to tell you, I know I serve a God that never leaves us, never forsakes you. That's why we're still out here fighting. We're not going away. If they thought this family was going to turn away and leave it alone, they picked the wrong one.
Okay, good evening. I'm Karla Carey with Ohio Families Unite Against Police Brutality. We are in Cleveland, Ohio, and I have the pleasure of sitting with the family of Arthur Keith. Will you introduce yourselves to us, please?
Hi, my name is Rita Keith. Arthur Keith is my son.
Hi, my name is Matricia Givner, and I'm Arthur Keith's aunt.
Okay. I thank you for being here today. I'd like for you, please, just to share a little bit with us about Arthur, who he was to you, what his personality was like, and then maybe we can lead up to what happened to him on that dreadful day.
Arthur Keith is my 19-year-old son that got killed at King Kennedy Projects. What led up to that day is we was sleeping. He got a call, and he got up, did his business in the bathroom, whatever he had to do, and he left out.
Mm-hmm. What date was this? When did this happen?
Black Friday, November the 13th.
November 13th.
Yeah.
What year?
2020.
2020. Okay.
Yeah,
I want to make sure we had all
yeah.
that correct.
So he got up that day. Like I said, he did what he had to do, and he left. But I was still there because it wasn't time for me to go to work yet. But then he came back, but I was still like laying down because still one time. So he came in, he went in the kitchen, and he went in the cabinet, which I don't know what he went in the cabinet for. But he wound up leaving again. And so after that, I wound up going to work.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was at work, I get a call from one of my good friends that lived down there.
Okay.
Telling me that Arthur got shot. Arthur is dead.
Mm.
So I believe it was my sister that called the office phone. But by the time I got to the office phone, she was no longer on the line. So when I got to my phone, the first name I seen was my good friend. And that's when she told me that Arthur was shot and Arthur is dead. I mean, I was like, it was just unbelievable because, I mean, I had to do this all by myself. I had to leave work, I had to go down some stairs, I had to cross the street to get to the rapid station. But a good friend
How far were you from where he was killed?
I was University Circle area.
So is that 10,
Like,
15 minutes away?
Oh, no. That
No?
was,
Probably about 20 minutes.
20 minutes, okay.
20
Oh,
minutes
wow.
away.
So you had to travel 20 minutes with this in your mind,
yes,
not knowing anything that happened.
yes.
Mm.
But a good friend of mine that lived down there, too, she came and got me. Her and her boyfriend came and got me from the University Circle rapid station.
Okay.
So after that, we were going to go down to King Kennedy to see if he was still there. But my sister, she was at the hospital, Metro Hospital,
Okay.
telling me to come there instead of going down to King Kennedy. So that's where they took me. And that's where all my family members was there. So I had went to where my sister was, like in a little waiting room, and she was tore up from the floor up. And I was just like, I mean, it was just hard to believe that, that happened. So then after that, we still had to wait because they weren't going to let me see my son.
No, they don't.
Yeah, but my nephew, he talked to his mother and told his mother to talk to the police officer.
Mm-hmm.
For me and his father to go back there and see him. So we wound up they let us wind up going back there. See,
They did. That's
Yes,
so
they did.
unusual.
Yeah.
But
So
good that you were able to identify him.
yes.
Yes, it's a family. Somebody has to identify who he is.
In most cases, they'll tell you that the body is evidence, and the next time most family members get to see them is at the funeral home. So that's why I say it's rare that happens, but I'm glad that you were able to have those last few moments with him.
Yes.
Wow, 19 years old, hadn't even become a real man yet, didn't make 21, and here he is gunned down
Yes.
by police.
Yes.
The story that we hear so often, and a lot in Cleveland.
Yes.
Wow. So what type of person was Arthur before all of this happened?
He was a joyful kid.
Okay.
I mean, he was in like a gifted and talent program.
Oh, okay.
The lowercase school of arts which is down in King Kennedy.
Mm-hmm.
Then he was transferred to Wade Park Elementary School,
Okay.
which he was in the gifted and talent program.
Nice.
And he graduated from there 6th grade, going to the 7th up. Yeah. And he was a good kid. He took care of me and his sister and his little brother.
Mm-hmm.
He was a big brother to his
Okay.
little brother. He was the little brother to his sister.
Sister, okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes. Well, Arthur was a good kid. He was loved. He was respectful. It was just, he was my son.
Yeah.
He was my son, and just
Oftentimes when these things happen, the media will paint them and demonize them as this bad menace to society. And we never get to really hear who that person was until we get to talk to the family.
Yeah.
And they're able to share that, this person was a jokester, or, they loved a specific sport or something. And so those are the pieces that people need to hear about your loved ones, like not what the news paints of them, but who they really and truly were. So you're his aunt.
Yes, and they don't know that Arthur, he was a 19-year-old. He was a young man. He was finding his way.
Mm-hmm.
But he also was enough to say a mentor to other young kids, especially through the Boys and Girls Club. He told them, stay in school. You need to stay in school. Stay out of the gangs. Do what you need to do. Stay smart. Mm-hmm. But even give them money to help them if they needed some help with something. Mm-hmm. So they don't portray him as a person that cared.
Right.
They just portrayed him as, he's hanging out with a group of boys. He's got to be doing drugs. He's gangbang. Arthur wasn't in a gang. Mm-hmm. That wasn't Arthur's thing. Mm-hmm. He was a young man that was even getting into a program where he's starting to work, and the young man that he was working with actually was so proud of Arthur because Arthur was coming a long way. Mm-hmm. And he was bringing other young people with him. He was so encouraging them, stay in school, no matter the struggles, no matter what. His life was just cut short before this young man was really getting started with his life. And people don't know that a lot of those young people that I saw when we had the repast service at the Boys and Girls Club, some of those young men were so devastated because Arthur was their mentor. He was that young man that said, hey, everything will be all right. He checked on another young man's mom.
Okay.
Who had lost his life. But Arthur stepped in as that gap to say, hey, I have my mom. I'm still going to take care of you. You're my mom, too.
Nice.
So he was a young man that cared about his community. He cared about the people. Mm-hmm. He wasn't somebody that just didn't care and he was all out for himself.
Right.
He cared about people. He cared about his family. Cared about the community. They're still grieving because they lost Arthur. And there was nothing for them.
Today when we were out at the block party, is that a place that you could have seen Arthur out enjoying himself?
yes.
Yeah.
Interacting with some of the young men and the kids out there?
Bringing other young men there.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Definitely.
How did you feel about the block party today? Because the whole purpose was to celebrate life and to give back to the community. And we don't see those kind of things in the media, families doing these kind of things, coming together. How did that make you guys feel being out there today?
His name is Arthur Keith. He was my 19-year-old son. Been gone for a whole year. It'll be 2 years, November the 13th.
and I miss my son dearly, very dearly. It's just me and my 2 kids now. I get up every morning saying, hello, Arthur, I love you, I miss you, and I wish you was here. It's still unbelievable to me that my son is gone. But I got family, I got siblings here today. Thank you so much for being out here for me. I really love all of you guys. Thank you so much. I really appreciate everybody that's here. Thank you. It made me feel really, really nice. The outcome, the siblings being there for me, the auntie, Miss B, Miss Alicia. It just was like a little bit overwhelming, you know, 'cause I'm not really big on speaking, you know. Okay. This is, you know, just trying to go with it, you know, just
but now you have to be his voice.
Yes. If everybody
can
tell
and, you know, the accountability piece, like we have to hear from the family. Yes. And know what you want so we know how to support you. Yes. I had the privilege of speaking to your attorney briefly, Stanley Jackson from the Cochran Law Firm. Very nice gentleman, and it sounds like you guys are well represented. And I think that's what people need to know so that we don't forget Arthur and his story and his life. Like, we keep his name alive by continuing to say his name when we go to rallies and block parties, right? And so I'm glad that we are able to sit here and share some positive things about him, because we can pick up the paper, we can look on the news, and we can see negative things about our kids all day long. And not always is it really what they say it is. Yeah. So it's necessary that your voices are heard continually so that people know who Arthur was and who he is, because he'll live with you guys forever, right? Right. So it's nice to know that, you know, he was a mentor. He was a big brother and a little brother at the same time. And that he was finding his way, because we don't always know where we're going when we're 19. Right. But he was finding his way. Yeah. And he had a loving and supportive family to follow him and to guide him and to be right there with him. So that's a beautiful thing. So what do you want people to know about Arthur's legacy? What if we could leave people with a thought about Arthur, what do you want them to know about him?
The Arthur was a smart boy, very smart. He was gone. His teachers at Wade Park Elementary School said he was very smart, that he could be a lawyer. Mm. It's like, I wish he would have been a lawyer, but unfortunately he can't. Yeah. But Arthur was a very smart 19-year-old. Nice. Very smart 19-year-old. That's all I was hearing. Arthur smart. Arthur this. Arthur that. I'm like, really? My son?
Was he a jokester at all?
A little bit.
Yeah. A little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah. So who caught the most flack, the little brother or the big sister?
The little brother.
Little brother.
Yeah. The biggest legacy I wanted to leave about Arthur was he was a person that cared. Mm-hmm. I want to leave the legacy that to persevere, no matter when people count you down, mm-hmm. or they say you're not going to do something. Arthur was a person that still pushed forward. He mm-hmm. didn't let situations and circumstances hold him down. And when given the opportunity, he seized it. Mm-hmm. I want people to know he cared. He cared very deeply about that community. A lot of times you hear so much negativity that happens in the community, right? But there's a lot of positive that is not talked about. Mm-hmm. And he's one of those positive people. The Boys and Girls Club, very positive image. And we need to more or less put more effort into that, mm-hmm. talk about that community. I want the councilmen to represent, be proud of those communities, mm-hmm. because that's what you represent. Right. And those families, they're doing their job. They're trying to every day. Mm-hmm. And we need to be there to help and support them. Yeah. I appreciate the support that we got today. It was beautiful, overwhelming. But this is a cause I never thought I would ever have to take up. This isn't a loved one. Because you hear it, as you say, you hear about it so much and becomes desensitized till it hits your family.
That's right, to hit your doorstep.
And when it hits your doorstep, you see that there's so much injustice, so much is not being done, so much is not talked about, so much is so pushed up, shoved up under the rug.
Right.
And it just makes you, they think that the families don't care about their children. These families hurt. There is a hole that can never be filled from the loss of their loved one, from a needless, senseless killing. And there has to be accountability for that.
Absolutely.
They're here to serve and protect, and they're not serving and protecting the community.
Right, right. That's a beautiful way to end it, is to make sure that we leave those positive footprints of his in place so that people know, you know, he wasn't a menace to society. He wasn't a bad kid. He was out there trying to do and make his way. And that's a beautiful way to let everybody know who he really was and who he will continue to be in all of his family members and his friends and in the community. So I agree with you. Let's do our part as a community. Let's make sure that we have the right people in places so that if something like this were to ever happen again, we can run to them and hold them accountable to hold the rest of the people who are responsible accountable.
Definitely.
I thank the both of you so much for taking some time out of your day to share with us Arthur Keith.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.